What's up, dudes and dudettes of the internet? My name is Seth, and today we're going to be talking about the Trove tethering system, which, thank goodness, is not actually on the live server right now. Now, before we get into this, I just want to give you a quick summary of what we're going to be talking about today. There's a tethering system that I think a lot of people ended up overlooking that's going to be coming out with the update, the Trove Adventure update with November 14th. There's been quite a few people talking on the forums whether or not it's a good feature or not. While the vast majority of people, I do think personally, are going to end up absolutely hating this feature, I think that a lot of people kind of take for granted the fact that most players haven't actually read through all of the patch notes because there's just such a huge wall of text, and not everybody can watch through my hour-long patch video to end up actually figuring out and seeing how this feature ends up working. And I didn't really get to touch upon the feature that much in my patch video, so that's kind of what this is dedicated to. Now, before we end up actually talking about the problems with this system, I'm just going to read through what the functionality actually is, because I want an unbiased opinion from you guys and gals out there to let me know in the comments, or let people know on the forums, more importantly, whether or not this is something that you actually want to see happen to the game. I myself am very, very against it, and I'll talk about why in a bit. So first of all, tethering for public evaluation, meaning that we can judge whether or not this is something that needs to be added to the game. Tethers are a new way for players to group up and share experience and loot, basically a group system. Each tether gets an icon and name, and by default, these appear in nameplates and in the upper left corner of the screen. So you're gonna see a little icon show up in the upper left, kind of like a red cupcake icon, for example, or a blue fish icon. So anybody else that is going to end up having that same icon essentially is going to end up being in the same group as you are, which of course is going to only be active if you group up with another person, and it's going to generate a random icon in the corner. You're not going to be able to just randomly see somebody else in the world that just randomly ended up generating the same red cupcake group or anything like that. So to create a tether, you're going to end up using a hotkey, and you can also set up in your social options whether or not you want to automatically accept tether invites from everybody, decline it from everybody, or accept it from friends and club members. Because what you're essentially going to do is you're going to go up to another player, look at them with your cursor on them, and then you're going to press the hotkey associated in order to actually invite them to the group. It's either going to automatically throw them into it, depending on what their settings are, or they're going to get a big ugly pop-up on the screen that's going to say yes or no to the tethering. Or you can just decline it by default. So XP and loot from killing NPCs is now distributed only to individual players and members of a tether that have dealt damage to the NPC. I know, meaning that while you can tether with a random person, that other person is also going to have to tag the boss in order to end up getting the XP. Now, as far as getting the loot is concerned, that's a little bit easier just because the box itself, like the dungeon chest, that actually counts as a boss as far as the code is concerned. And you all know how difficult it is to defeat a dungeon chest, right? So you're going to be able to have two people very easily tag that chest before you end up unboxing it. But it does feel like a bit of a clunky system just for the simple fact that you're going to have to wait for the other players to actually attack it before you can even end up getting loot. Anyways, again, I want an unbiased opinion from you guys and gals. I don't want to sway your opinion in any way, shape, or form. So, players who move 500 blocks away from the tether's leader will automatically be kicked from that group after 30 seconds. And then it just talks about the options for tethering in the social sections and stuff like that. So, there you go. What do you think? Is it a good system? Is it a bad system? Personally speaking, I think it's absolutely disgusting. I don't know why the devs are even trying to sneak this feature in. I would recommend, if you think that this is a bad feature, go out of your way, make a forum account. I'll put a forum link in the description so you can make an account, go on the forums and start screaming about how this feature is bad. And just as a heads up, everybody, just so you know, the Trove forums are fairly toxic. So don't be surprised if you end up actually going on the forum saying that the feature's bad and then having a bunch of tryhards start attacking you saying, no, every feature that the devs add to the game is a good thing. While there has been a very, very small group of people that have kind of been whispering in the devs' ear that they don't really like leeching, I do feel that the majority of people think that this feature is going to be absolutely disgusting because I still remember when I first started playing this game, and I remember and loved the fact that you didn't have to group up with random players. You could play with random players, and you didn't have to bother with grouping or anything like that. And it was just something very quick, very easy, where you could end up just joining up with randoms, and it was no problem. Now, the other complications come in the fact that I don't think that the devs even thought for 2 seconds about this feature before they were throwing it in. Because what's going to happen with Dragon Challenges? Dragon Challenges single-handedly fill worlds with players that are all going to be competing to destroy all these dungeons, and now suddenly you're telling me that people aren't going to end up getting credit for those Dragon Challenges? And what about fighting Dragon World bosses? Do you think that for 2 seconds you're going to be in the Dragon chat /join Dragon or Dragon Hunting or whatever it is on the different versions of Trove, but it's going to be a chat room dedicated to people that are just hunting for the dragon bosses, right? And it's like, what's going to happen? Some guy's like, hey dude, I found the pirate dragon. Oh cool, invite us. He invites 10 people. It already takes like maybe 2 minutes for him to invite that many players. And let's just say that somebody else in that time gets impatient and they just kill the boss. And then that means that nobody ended up getting the loot except for that one person, because you didn't end up wasting your time tethering with 20 other people. It just feels like such an unthought out, like, piece of trash feature that just shouldn't be added to the game. Not find a solution and make it better. No, just delete it. Like, just remove this feature at all. Like, get it out of the game. Because, honestly speaking, like I said 2 seconds ago, and I'm gonna say it again, the only people that think that there's even leeching in this game are the tryhards, and they are very, very small community in this game. The majority of players on this game are like me, casual players. And who doesn't think that it's awesome that you can end up just randomly grouping with random people? It promotes, cooperation rather than competition. I know I said that really weird. Competition. I was trying to make it rhyme in my head for some reason, but competition is something that I don't really enjoy in a casual game such as this. Like, it just... it's very frustrating to see this feature trying to sneak its way into the game. Now, that said, folks, this update is going to end up hitting November 14th. Hopefully, we can get enough of a buzz on all of this stuff. Enough of a news buzz, enough of people actually talking about it on the forums and stuff like that. And it can't be just in this video's comment section, folks. You have to do it on the Trove forums, because that's the only way that we're going to end up actually getting heard about whether or not this feature is going to be good or bad, because that's the only place that the devs actually end up going to end up getting any of the info. Honestly speaking, I might even start a petition if somebody hasn't already, just to get this feature out of the game. Because especially with the new club update coming out, where you can start doing quests and stuff like that for your club. And now suddenly we're going to have to start tethering with all of the players that are in the club, just so that you can end up grouping up together and completing dungeons. And on top of that, it's actually a very broken system in general, because I've been tethered with people, killed the dungeon boss with them tagging it, and they haven't gotten the loot. While simultaneously, I've also had it where I'm not tethered with somebody, and they still end up getting the XP and the loot. And then another problem that we could run into is, say you're just a new player. You're strolling along, you end up going into a 3-star dungeon. You want to take your time. You want to start going through the dungeon, killing all the enemies and killing all the bosses, because you don't really know the game mechanics yet, and you're still just learning. Say somebody else ends up entering that same 3-star dungeon, and they just rush on all the way to the end and defeat that 3-star boss. Now suddenly you're not going to end up getting any experience from that boss, despite the fact that you're there. It's not like you're leeching, you're going and fighting all the other enemies, And not to mention, for content creators and streamers, like, what are we going to do? Try to group up and tether with like 1 billion people? As far as I know, the tethering only even goes up to like 8 people. It just would make sense. But seriously, like that, I have nothing but bad things to say about this feature. There's a couple of things that I could think would be a solution. Either make it so that when you're tethered with somebody, it's the same as Trove is right now on the live server, where you're just all grouped together. And then on top of that, if they ended up doing that, I would say leave tethering on as a default and have it so that you can go into the options and switch it off. But then we still run into the same complications of dragon challenges, farming for dragons, and somebody rushing the 3-star boss. And that's where do you draw the line between what's leeching and what's trolling? Because now suddenly, while technically you might argue, oh, that person's just following me around leeching all of the dungeons, who cares? Like, seriously, it's not like it's that much of a benefit for someone to follow you around for an hour and get a couple free dungeons. Maybe they're in the middle of eating, but the fact of the matter is that the trade-off is that now suddenly people can specifically troll with completing dungeons. And personally, I feel that that is the greater of the two evils. You know? So, I don't know. Let me know what you all think in the comment section down below. But more importantly, I'm gonna put a link to the Trove forums. Start a topic. Start your own fresh new topic talking about how this is a bad thing, just so that it gets completely spammed out with, you know, this is a bad feature, get rid of it. Or just start a petition yourself and then try to link everybody to it or something like that, just because, yikes, dude. Like, this is a feature that's got to go. And unfortunately, again, I don't think that the devs fully understand just how bad this is, but also I don't think that they understand just how many people, like, I'm fairly confident that a lot of people are going to start saying this feature is bad now, because I know that a lot of people didn't even know that it was coming. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Again, I'm hoping that I didn't end up swaying your own personal, unbiased opinion towards this too much. I'm personally very, very strongly against it because I am all about building a community rather than dividing it. That's just the type of person that I am. I love playing games cooperatively, especially if it's PvE. Like, that feels backwards for an MMO to go back to having a group system. I feel that every MMO from this point on into the future should get rid of the group system in general and just make it so that people can end up teaming up very, very easily or joining each other and stuff. You know, especially with the fact that you can join players so quickly. Like, join players through the club menu or through your friends list and stuff. Granted, I don't think you can join players through the club menu once this update ends up hitting. But my point being that this feature, the whole tethering system, just kind of feels out of left field, where it doesn't make sense for the entirety of how Trove is designed. You know, like, it just feels very, very out of place. Anyways, thanks for watching. Very much appreciated. Don't forget to like, share, favorite, and subscribe for more daily content. It's also going to build up loyalty points to my merch store where you can buy this shirt and a bunch of others. Sayonara, and stay epic, everybody.